All right, so this is gonna be my first one. Jailhouse Journals. Basically, what I'm gonna title this. Probably the roughest experience of my life. um, that's how I could describe it in a few words, but definitely something I learned. I learned a lot from. Others have described it as being the black man's boot camp, hell on earth. What would happen if you were a slave or lived as a slave, or just simply how to be treated like you're not a human being anymore. If you wanted to know what that felt like, go to jail. I promise you, you'll get all you ask for and more by just going to jail. But this is my experience. This is a little taste of my experience, mind you. I can't give you all of my experience because I'd have to lock you in a cell, give you COs. I'd have to give you soy food and Saturday trays and make you, urinate on a metal toilet and have to defecate on top of your sandals because you don't want to catch hepatitis. But other than that, I can give you a little taste of what I went through. Being in jail was not fun, to say the least. It wasn't fun, but it was interesting. There was probably nothing I learned that I can't take out into life now and say, okay, I can use this. Chiefly that I can survive. I didn't think I was going to be able to survive the encounters that I did, but I survived. Like, I thought I was literally going to die, but life isn't as bad as I thought it was. Crazy, right? I'm pretty sure somebody out there has said that to me once in my life beforehand, but it took me going through this traumatic of an experience to say, all right, look, I'm being melodramatic about things. Life isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like, don't get me wrong. It was bad. It was terrible, in fact, which is going to be this first story with this long introduction. But I promise I'm going to get to it. But it was terrible. It was horrifying. However, I learned a lot from it. And I'm appreciative of the fact that I went through something that I learned so much from. I just wish I could have learned them in different circumstances and didn't have to pull so many other people into the mess that was that entire situation. But yeah, this is my first couple of days there. The first 6 days and 5 nights were probably the most interesting 6 days and 5 nights of my entire life. I was pinned down on June 15th and taken into custody. From then on, it was a downhill battle because it's not about being taken in, it's about when you leave. So you can walk down the time, but if you don't know when you leave, that eats at your mind. That's the thing that causes the mind to decay. When do I go? When is it my time? Now, some background information. When you commit a specific type of crime, like murder, here, at least in Hamilton County, they throw you into the murder pod for men. Women, from what I've heard, I was never there, so I really can't tell you, but from what I've heard, they don't have specific pods. They don't do enough crimes. So it's because of the fact that they don't do enough crimes or don't get convicted on serious crimes to that nature, they just have everybody thrown in wherever they're thrown in at. With guys, it's not like that whatsoever. You have a specific place where you go. You are going to the murder pod. You are going to high level crimes. So your breaking and enterings, your robberies with a gun or without sometimes, your high level assaults, right? Misdemeanors, you don't even get in, you don't get put anywhere. Low level crimes, okay, you stole something from Target. Like you stole a shopping cart out of Target. You didn't really hold anybody up with a gun, right? Or you had aggravated menacing charges, right? But being in the murder pod, you're under a different kind of stress. When I came in my first day, right, in the murder pod, I didn't reach general population until 40 days in. But when I came into the murder pod and I actually stepped out on general population my first day, they told me, look, man, some of us are going home. Some of us are going home after a long time, right? 15, 20 years plus. Others will never see the light of day outside of a prison again. Just like that. Just that simple. So when I tell you about this place, when I tell you the hardest thing is when are you going home, it's that much of a gravity that's added to it. It's not simply, okay, I'm going home tomorrow. No, you're not. Some people are. They have misdemeanors or they have domestic violence charges that have not yet turned into felonies, which those guys, they have a special place in hell. I promise you they do. Because domestic violence guys and the women don't show up to court, that is a whole different topic, but they have a very special place in hell. But as far as I'm concerned, right now, it's hard. It's very, very difficult for somebody who doesn't know or who hasn't been there to realize how hard it is to come to grips with the fact that you have to go to a place that you can't readily leave. There is no escape. The only escape in most instances is death. There my phone goes. In most cases, the only escape is death, which is something that you quite unironically find a lot about in a murder pod. These guys are, a lot of them are your tough macho dudes. Oh, I'm a killer, this, that, and the third. But a lot of them are scared too. Matter of fact, not even a lot of them. All of them are frightened. But at the same time, it's like, okay, I'm frightened, but I have to do this. Like, I have to get through this. And that's the only thing that kept me going. It was I have to get through this. But going back to my main story, just wanted to give you some background knowledge, which probably sounded like a whole bunch of rambling. And if it did, I apologize. But I wanted to give you the gravity of, you are here. You are locked into a place, right? The police bring you to a place. These guys with badges, guns, and tasers, and batons bring you to a place and lock you behind a metal door that you cannot get out of. My first night was probably the most insane. They take me into intake, and I'm standing, I'm looking around, and I'm like, okay, I don't know where I am. I don't know where I'm going. I just know that I'm here. The strangest thing that I found out at that moment is that constructing a future for human beings is very important. If you don't have a future, if you don't have a tomorrow, today becomes unlivable. It becomes unspeakable to continue. It's like, okay, I don't know what tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is not what tomorrow will bring or, oh, okay, I might have a good tomorrow. Like, there is no next day. There is no after this. There is no next hour. There is no, all right, well, I'm going to go outside and after that, there is no plans. There's nothing that you can do. There's nothing that you can say. There's nowhere that you can go that you can be like, okay, this place in my mind that I've reached, I am now able to use this experience from the past to set up a future because there isn't one. You're just here. That's why a future is important, because if you don't have one, you go insane. You go mad. Being that you go mad, being that you go insane, being that you are consumed with this feeling of despair because there's no up, there's no elsewhere, there's just right now. Being stuck in the now is torture, but that's the place that a lot of people avoid because it is torture. It's not paradise. It's not when you first get there, but then you learn to turn it into paradise later on. But being that I was forced to be there, it's a lot different. So getting to that, we'll put a pin in the paradise idea right now. Getting to the gravitas of the situation. So I come in on my first day and I go through my intake and I'm crying like a baby. Like, no joke, no side notes. I'm just crying. I'm sitting there like, okay, Well, I have nothing that I can actually do. I see my girl and she's like, you're here. You can, nah, I can't do anything. I can't save us. There's nothing I can do. Like, they caught us. Like, it's over. Right? I'm sitting there like, oh man, I tried. We did a whole lot. I tried. I'll get into that a little bit later on, but I tried and it just didn't pan out. So I'm sitting in a holding cell. I'm sitting in holding cell C. When you first get in, they take you through a gate. It's basically an armored garage with no roof, just a wall and barbed wire on the outside so that nobody can actually see. If you've ever seen the Justice Center, you know what I'm talking about. If you've ever been to jail, you know what I'm talking about. Typically, intake is barbed wire, garage door, and then after that, you have what is probably the most interesting process, having everything stripped from you. And when they took us in, they strip searched us, right? I had this really, really like super macho cop do it. He was one of his buddies. Man, you're strip searching her too? What are they in for? Murder. He hit us with that. I was like, I wanted to laugh because I'm like, dude, like, really? That voice? You hit me with that one. Like, okay, it is what it is. But I go off and I'm like, all right, cool. They take me to intake. They ask me if I want medical. And I'm like, no, I'm cool on the medical. I'm good on that. They run me through the entire process. They try to take my picture, get my social. I'm like, no, I don't want any of that done. I'm cool. And it's not even that I said no. I just kept crying. So there was nothing that they could do. They were like, Peterson, you have to take this. And I'm like, nah, I'm cool, G. I'm all right. And they're like, no, you have to do it. Like, and I'm sitting there just, right. I said, no, I'm cool in my mind, right? That was in my head. On the outside, oh, my family. I can't do anything. Oh, I'm useless. Like, right? He take me back to my holding cell C. And I sit there for the rest of the night. I'm cold. They put me in stripes. And oh, I hate stripes, man. I was sitting there looking at the stripes when they first gave them to me. I was like, oh no. Right? They put me in the holding cell and then they take her up and take her to the elevators, and she walks past my cell and she does her hands like, what are you doing? Like, it's like she's shaking her hands like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? Like, what are you doing? Like, come on. Like, and I'm like, I can't do anything. I just look at her and I'm just like, oh, it does not make me feel any better that I can't do anything and she's angry at me because I can't do anything. And I'm like, okay, I can't do anything. She's angry at me. Life is just not going right now. And I'm in this cold cell with this metal toilet. Dude, this is horrible. So I get up and I just pace back and forth. I start to stretch. I'm like, I don't know where I'm going or what I'm doing. And these guys, I'm looking at across the way, mind you. Across from me, there's a police box. But across from them, there's more holding cells. I look across the way and there's a dude jacking off in his holding cell. Like, what? Like, like, my man, why are you doing that? Like, hold on. Like, you're just, okay. Yep. That's what you do when you're in jail. That's not it at all. That's not it. I'm like, okay, I'm not even in the nut house. I'm where they just send the trash. Like, I'm like, oh God, like, I really failed at life. I really failed at life right now. This is terrible. What do? I just go back to crying. I'm curled up in the fetal position on this concrete bench next to my metal toilet, crying like a baby. I'm like, okay, well, this can't possibly get any worse, right? And I hear some other guys in the holding cells down from me. They're just dapping each other up. Hey, man, what's good, man? Yep, welcome back to, welcome back, man. How you doing? Da-da-da. Yeah, da-da-da. I'm just like, wow, they're just having a conversation like this is normal. This is far from normal, but okay, it is what it is. Finally, around 10 o'clock-ish, a CEO comes and grabs me. He's like, hey, he knocks on the cell, wakes me up, and they open the door. He's like, holding C. They open the door, and it's not your regular door. It's a sliding metal door, so they have to yell for it to get opened. So, and then you hear this noise.